This is from Kegel Cartoons. Pardons $5 million. The pardoner is in. Uh, yeah, it's the old Lucy and the cartoon thing. I don't know what the heck's going on with him. Seriously. Um, I wasn't a big fan of the January 6th pardons because they were so sweeping. I thought there were people there who uh, were over prosecuted for what they did. They were sentenced to way too much time, and part of this whole thing is the process is the penalty as well. Um, so, not a big fan of the January 6th pardons. Some of them should have been commutations. Some of them shouldn't have gotten anything at all. But I can kind of understand it, considering what he's been through. He was targeted. The most of the charges, these trumped up, no pun intended, prosecutions against him for fraud in a case where no one lost any money, for paying off, for a state court trying to enforce federal election laws. It's never happened before, and it's usually the feds come down and say, no, you're not doing that. That's our purview. But anything to get him. So I can understand him wanting to use this power. The problem is we're getting to the point now where he's abusing it. There's a history of this. This is Biden's auto pen, writing out a pardon there. I used AI to create that. See, I know how to use AI. But Biden, instead of, targeting, okay, I'm giving pardons to these specific people, just said, anyone who's been convicted of simple marijuana possession, attempted simple possession of marijuana, or use of marijuana, we're just going to pardon them all. I got a better idea. Why don't you pass a law taking those offenses off the books and then do it? Because this was just show. I mean, we've had pardon problems. I mean, there were people who thought the pardon of Gerald Ford, or Gerald Ford's pardon of Nixon, was a bad idea. That one I think I can live with, because that just kind of shut the door on all that. The country was able to move on. Bill Clinton famously pardoned financier Mark Rich, who was a fugitive. That was a purchased pardon. There's too much of this. It's willy-nilly. The news today was the former president of Honduras has been freed from prison after the Trump pardon. He had been sentenced to 45 years in prison for flooding the United States with cocaine. Over on the right, we've got some quote. This is from an Andy McCarthy piece over on National Review. This is the court documents. Hernandez abused his powerful positions and authority in Honduras to facilitate the importation of over 400 tons of cocaine into the U.S. He received millions of dollars of drug money from some of the largest and most violent drug trafficking organizations in Honduras, Mexico, and elsewhere. The people that he was doing this with moved mountains of cocaine, committed acts of violence and murder, and helped turn Honduras into one of the most dangerous countries in the world. And Trump pardoned this guy. Why did he pardon him? Mr. Trump discussed this back in the New York Times article. Discussed the planned pardon with reporters over the weekend in terms similar to those Mr. Hernandez had used in his letter, saying that the people of Honduras really thought he was set up, and it was a terrible thing. He was president of the country, and they basically said he was a drug dealer because he was president of the country, Mr. Trump said. And they said it was a Biden administration setup. I looked at the facts, and I agreed with him. I don't think he looked at the facts. I don't think he does that much work. I don't think he talked to anybody. He didn't. I'll put money down on that. It's the previous sentence that's the one that caused Trump to give the pardon. All you have to do is say it's a Biden administration setup. I mean, let's go back to the last one. When did he start doing this? At least 2004. From 2004 up to and including about 2022. He'd been doing this through Trump 1 administration, through the Biden administration, a long time. It wasn't a setup. Guilty of sin. But stroke Trump's ego. And that's not all he's done. This crypto billionaire he pardoned, rumor has it it's because he's doing business with the Trump organization. I believe it probably is happening. Probably one of his kids or something, but there's no reason to pardon that guy. And then he just he commuted David Gentile's sentence, he got a 7-year prison sentence for bilking investors of $1.6 billion. Personally, I think the sentence was a little low. $1.6 billion, you probably ought to go to jail longer. But he'd served less than 2 weeks. Trump commutes his sentence. Why? Probably the same sort of thing. He sees himself in, and what does that say about Trump? He sees himself in these other convictions. There's been discussion about getting rid of the pardon power. They could do that if they wanted to. I mentioned Biden and the marijuana users. I missed an opportunity last year because summer of 2024, when Karine Jean-Pierre was standing at the White House podium, assuring the American people that Joe Biden would not be pardoning his son Hunter on gun charges. It was legal at that point in the United States for these kind of political betting markets. And I knew Hunter Biden was never going to see the inside of a jail cell for a day, a federal prison. It wasn't going to happen. I should have took every last cent I had and put it on a bet on that. Would have paid off. I would have taken money from gullible journalists and Democrats who believed that malarkey. But you see where we get. I want to say it started with Bill Clinton's Mark Rich pardon. And it's just set steadily, politician after politician, president after president, push that barrier a little more. I'm not sure if there are any, I didn't look to see if George W. Bush had done any questionable pardons. I know he should have pardoned Scooter Libby because that was an absolute joke. It wasn't him who gave up the CIA agent's identity, and absolute joke. But the rest of this stuff, it's getting to the point where this was supposed to be used to correct injustices, and now it's not. If there's a case out there that the guy who should have been pardoned, and who Trump should pardon this moment, it's this guy, Patrick Tate Adamakiak. I got no idea. He's an American sailor. He's serving a 20-year sentence. Why? Because the ATF took stuff that he had that didn't work, wasn't designed to work, that he didn't have the parts to make work, and made them weapons. You can still buy on Gunbroker, question if you want to do this or not, inert RPG-2 rockets for $120, an RPG-7 replica for $400, an inert RPG-2 rocket launcher with a rocket, firing pin, and hard case for $1,200. Spare ammo in our inert heat rockets run $230. They don't require a federal firearm license for the purchase because they aren't firearms. They are not real. They have their internal parts stripped. It's the shell. It's something to decorate your wall with. But what happened? The ATF came after this guy and started putting in parts, started adjusting things, starting added things, stuff he didn't have, stuff the Adamakiak, whatever, didn't have, and made it so the RPG could shoot a single bullet. Same thing with a Sten submachine gun that's legally a toy and still able to be bought online. They add parts and do this. This should scare the bejesus out of every gun owner. Because especially if you've got a Glock, they got those Glock switches. Those Glock switches are illegal to possess. They turn a Glock that's a semi-automatic handgun into a fully automatic handgun. But if you've got some milling equipment, if you're a blue collar guy or someone who creates tools and stuff, if you've got the tools sitting around, even though you haven't tried to make a Glock switch, if you've got bits of metal around that can be folded and milled and whatnot, the ATF can go and do that, plop that on your perfectly legal Glock, and put you in jail for 20 years for having a machine gun. Because that's what they did to this guy. Taken to its ludicrous conclusion, this was something that was exchanged at a Minnesota gun buyback. That is a working shotgun. What was used to make this shotgun? Let's take a look at it. We've got some plumbing pipe, we've got some duct tape, and we got a piece of wood. I did that here. If I did that here in California, it's a crime. California, everything's a crime. Minnesota, it's not a crime to make your own gun. Even got a serial number on it. Buybacks don't work. 01. He made that, and he was getting paid $250 a shot, I think. Sorry, excuse the pun. But if you've got wood and some steel piping in your house, ATF can come after you. Say you've got an unregistered shotgun. I wouldn't put it past California's DOJ. They got enough problems, but you get some gung-ho prosecutor or somebody in the department who wants to make a name for themselves, they could come after somebody for this. The pardon power, when it first started out in this country, there wasn't much you could pardon. It's a 15-year-old article over from Heritage by Edwin Meese III, the late Edwin Meese III. I think he's dead. He was a trustee from 2017 to 2024. Maybe he's not dead. I don't know. He's old. It's a 15-year-old article. The first Congress enacted the Original Crimes Act in 1790. There were 17 federal crimes. Today, Congress can't even tell you how many there are. Best estimate in 2010, more than 4,500 federal crimes. I guarantee you there's more now. And with that many crimes, many of which don't require the whole guilty mind thing. It's not an intent to do a wrongful act. It's wrongful and illegal because we say so. When it's that wide-ranging, it'd be a good thing to have pardon power. But it's being abused to such a point that we need to do something about it. What we do about it, I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it can be curtailed. I'm not sure if you can require, something more than a signature. I'm not sure if you want to require my majority of Congress, or maybe even a minority of Congress, to do that, to make a pardon like that an actual thing. But this has gone off the rails. The man must be stopped. because it's a joke. Our legal system is in a sorry state for a lot of different reasons. One of them is because of what Trump's doing. I'll get into some other reasons why we got problems shortly, but what a mess. We need to do something about the pardon power. The nice thing about, and it'd be nice if this is something that could be bipartisan. It'd be nice if it were. But I suspect that, the next time we have a Democrat, he's going to abuse it the same way. Maybe it gets worse. Maybe it's a little better. I don't know. But we are not electing politicians who have solid moral centers, a sense of right and wrong, and any pride in their in their offices. We shouldn't be doing this thing willy-nilly, and we are. Don't know what the answer is. I'm open to seeing suggestions on what we could do to reform the pardon power. It would probably take a constitutional amendment. The good news about constitutional amendment is the president isn't part of that process. It goes through the House, it goes through the Senate, and it goes to the state legislatures. So we can change it without having to worry about a veto. But you still need 2/3 in each of the houses and 3/4 of the states. So there is work to be done. We need to start talking about it and taking this seriously. Thanks for watching this clip from the Hoystory On Air broadcast. I encourage you to follow me on Substack, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. I want to thank you for your support, and please feel free to watch another video or 2 or 3.